Hey everyone, and welcome back! Today, we're diving into one of the most beloved fairy tales of all time, a story filled with magic, friendship, and a touch of danger. Let's journey together into the world of Snow White. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, lived a princess whose beauty was truly legendary. Her skin was as white as freshly fallen snow, her lips were the color of the reddest roses, and her hair was as black as a raven's wing. Everyone in the kingdom adored the gentle and kind Snow White. Everyone, that is, except for one person, her stepmother. The queen. The queen was beautiful, but she was also incredibly vain and jealous. She owned a magical mirror, and every single day, she would stand before it and ask the same question. Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? For years, the mirror always answered, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." This pleased her greatly. But as Snow White grew, her beauty blossomed, becoming more radiant with each passing day. One fateful morning, the queen asked her mirror the usual question, but this time the answer was different. The mirror replied, "My queen, you are fair, it is true, but Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you." The queen's face twisted with fury. Consumed by rage and jealousy, she couldn't bear the thought of anyone being more beautiful than her. So, she summoned her most trusted huntsman and gave him a terrible command. Take Snow White deep into the forest and make sure she never returns. The huntsman led the innocent princess into the woods, but when the moment came, he couldn't do it. He saw the kindness in her eyes and felt immense pity. He warned her about the queen's wicked plan and urged her to run away and never look back. Terrified and alone, Snow White ran as fast as she could, deeper and deeper into the dark, tangled forest. The trees looked like grasping claws and strange sounds echoed all around her. Exhausted and crying, she finally collapsed in a small, sunlit clearing. When she woke up, she was surrounded by curious woodland creatures. They seemed to want to help her and led her along a winding path until she discovered a tiny, charming cottage tucked away among the trees. Everything inside was miniature 7 little chairs, 7 little plates, and 7 little beds. Feeling tired, she tidied up the messy cottage and then fell asleep across the tiny beds. Later that day, the owners of the cottage returned. They were 7 dwarfs who spent their days mining for sparkling diamonds and gems. Their names were Doc, the wise leader; Grumpy, who was always complaining but had a good heart; Happy, who was always cheerful; Sleepy, who could fall asleep anywhere; Bashful, who was very shy; Sneezy, who couldn't control his sneezes; and Dopey, who was silly and never spoke. At first, they were startled to find a princess in their home, but they were quickly won over by Snow White's gentle nature and sweet smile. When she told them her story, they offered her a safe place to stay, asking only that she cook and clean for them. Snow White happily agreed, and a new, joyful life began for her and her 7 new friends. They became a family, protecting her like a little sister. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen believed she was once again the fairest in the land. She confidently approached her mirror and asked, "Magic mirror on the wall, who now is the fairest one of all?" Imagine her shock and rage when the mirror answered, "Over the 7 jeweled hills, beyond the 7th fall. In the cottage of the 7 dwarfs, Snow White is still the fairest of them all." The queen was furious. She realized the huntsman had tricked her. She decided to take matters into her own hands. Using dark magic, she transformed herself into a stooped old peddler woman with a wart on her nose and a crooked smile. She then created her most evil potion yet, dipping a beautiful, shiny red apple into a poison that would cause an eternal, death-like sleep with just 1 bite. Disguised as the old woman, she traveled to the dwarf's cottage. She found Snow White alone, as the dwarfs were away at the mine. With a wicked grin, she offered the princess the glistening apple, calling it a wishing apple. Snow White was hesitant at first, remembering the dwarf's warnings about strangers. But the apple looked so delicious and the old woman seemed harmless. She took a bite. Instantly, the poison took effect and Snow White fell to the floor, motionless. When the dwarfs returned home, they found Snow White lying still and pale. Their hearts were shattered with grief. They couldn't bear to bury her in the cold ground. So they built a beautiful coffin made of glass and gold and placed her inside it, watching over her day and night. One day, a prince from a neighboring kingdom was riding through the forest and came upon the glass coffin. He was mesmerized by Snow White's serene beauty, even in her deep sleep. He felt an instant connection, a pull of true love. Overcome with emotion, he leaned down and gently kissed her hand. At that moment, the magic spell broke. Snow White's eyes fluttered open, and color returned to her cheeks. She was alive! The dwarfs cheered and danced with pure joy. The prince and Snow White fell deeply in love. They returned to his kingdom, where they were married in a grand celebration. As for the wicked queen, her jealousy led to her own downfall, and she was never seen again. Snow White and her prince lived happily ever after, always remembering the 7 kind dwarfs who saved her. Her story teaches us that kindness and goodness will always triumph over jealousy and evil, and that true love holds the power to conquer even the darkest of spells. Thanks so much for watching and sharing this story with me. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.